Hey kids, Mr. Jong here. Today I'm going to be going over how to use tangent to solve for missing sides of right triangles. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we need to do is identify what information do we have. Well, we got a few things actually. First thing that we know is that this is a right triangle. And we know this because of this symbol right here. This means that this angle is 90 degrees, and because of that, we can use the tangent ratio. The second little piece of information that's very useful is this angle right here. This will be our slope angle. This is going to be very useful later on when we need to use tangent. Additionally, we have these two sides, which are both going to be very useful. 8 is going to be our delta y. X is going to be our delta x. And this will all come together in a moment. So now that we have these three very useful pieces of information, we can set up our tangent ratio. Now you may be thinking to yourself, Mr. Jong, what's tangent? Well, tangent is going to give us the slope ratio of any triangle built on this 22-degree angle. Now, a slope angle is the delta y, which is this side of the triangle, over delta x, which will be this side of the triangle. So what that means is that once we calculate tangent of 22 degrees, that's going to give us a number that must be equal to 8 over x. Fortunately for us, tangent of 22 degrees, we can put into a calculator. Remember to set it to degrees, and that's going to give us to the ratio of 0.40. What this means is that the slope ratio of this triangle of 8 and x must be equal to 0.40. So that means x can only have one value that will make this true. And now we can solve for it because we have this equation. Now, there's a few ways you can solve for this, but the way that I like to do this is by constructing an equivalent ratio, by setting 0.40 over 1. So what we have now is that we have the ratio 0.41 over 1, and that must be equal to the slope ratio of the triangle in front of us, 8 over x. So we need to ask ourselves, okay, if these two triangles are similar, they must have equal proportions of their sides, which also means that there must be a scale factor or multiplier that we can use to dilate that 0.4 and that 1 to 8 and x. So we could guess and check a bunch of numbers, but the easiest way to do this would be to set up a small little second equation like so. We know that 0.40 times a number, we'll call it m for multiplier, must be equal to 8. Now that we have this little mini equation, we can just solve for m by dividing 0.4 on both sides. And that will give us the value of m is equal to 20. This means, first of all, 20 is not our side length. It is the multiplier. That means that to go from our slope ratio of 0.4 to 8, we must multiply that side 20 times. This also means that to go from our slope delta x of 1, we must also multiply that by 20. So that gets us to 1 times 20 equals to 20, which means that the side length of x must equal to 20. And that is how we can use tangent to solve for a missing side.